Well, good evening, everyone. I'll apologize immediately for the temperature in the room. The heat's been on all day, and this is what it's like to work in an old building. But if it makes anybody feel better, in the new part of the building, the $1 million addition, there's no heat right now. So this is a big plus for being in here tonight. I also would just like to tell you up front that Julia will not be able to come tonight because her plane is still in flight. So I'm really sorry she's not here, and we're not just going to let her travel anymore. So let's rise to say the salute. And Isaac, Angel, will you lead us in the salute to the flag, wherever you are? There you are.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We're dedicating tonight's meeting to James Myers Jr. III, who has stepped down from the Zoning Board of Appeals after serving this community in this capacity for 12 years. He was appointed in 2011, and I know he took his appointment very, very seriously. I don't know Jim well. I did get to see how hard he worked when COVID first appeared on the scene, which was about 6 weeks into when I had taken office in 2020. And he was a huge part of the effort that McCarthy's made, the pharmacy made, to deliver vaccinations to our town. And we just want to express our gratitude for his service. I'd like to make a motion to approve the agenda with the addition of Resolution 1E. I will do that.
Would you like a roll call first?
No, I'm going to do it second.
Okay.
I always have to do something wrong at the beginning of the meeting.
It's not wrong.
Okay. Thank you, Rita. So I'd like to add Resolution 1E after 1D. And now, Rita, roll call, please.
Could I have a second on your motion to approve the agenda with the addition of 1E?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, roll call. Wendy Burton.
Here.
Julia Dakota is absent. Eric Hames.
Present.
Nathan Lavirtue.
Here.
Town Board Liaison Reports. Eric?
Yes, the zoning board had a meeting on January 10th. Unfortunately, I was unable to attend. I had a long-standing family vacation planned, so unfortunately I missed the meeting. There were 2 applications before the ZBA, and both variances were approved.
Okay. Nathan?
The Rec Commission met last Wednesday. Excuse me. They're having a free Recipe for Kids events, which is an ages 3 and up event on the 24th, the 14th, Valentine's Day of February, and March 6th. Excuse me. Those are from 4:30 to 5:30 p.m. And it's easy little kit for kids to participate in. Everything is provided. The Easter egg hunt will happen on March 30th. The location is yet to be determined because the playground will be gone by that time. So they're working on finding out where that's going to happen. Lauren is going to start taking applications for some of the summer employment opportunities at the end of this month. There's an item on here that I think you're going to talk about later. And then the Haunted Fortress, we need members. We had some people that decided to not participate anymore for valid reasons, and we respect those, but we need other people to help. So if you or anyone you know wants to get involved in something that's really seasonal, please let us know. That's for the recreation. And then just a small update in regards to the conversation that we started in August, September around the Pine Plains Police Force having a presence in town. As you're aware, this is a community announcement. we're continuing to have those conversations and discussions, and we're exploring some other pieces of information that we have to try and make a decision. So we're still deliberating on that, so there's no action happening yet. We just want to let people know that it's still out there in the open space.
Julia did go to the CAC meeting by Zoom, but Annie, instead of my talking about a meeting I wasn't at, maybe you can, when you get up to talk, you can. Sure. Okay, thanks. My report, I went to the Fire District Commissioners meeting on January 9th. They had their reorganization meeting, and then they moved on to their regular monthly meeting. And the biggest news, or the biggest matter that was dealt with, was that after 68 years of ambulance service provided by our fire company, our fire district, it was decided to decommission the ambulances and surrender the ambulance certifications. The rescue squad, I believe, has a few procedural steps to take, and then they will still be allowed to go on calls. They will just be going in their own vehicles. And I got the sense that the feeling was at some point there's a hope to regroup and pick up 68 years of that kind of service, but for now, the ambulances won't be going out. Comprehensive plan update. Nathan and I are proofing the document for final corrections, if any more are necessary, and then we'll have our printed copies as soon as we finish that process. Hopefully will be very soon. Financial reports. I submitted 2 payroll verification reports, as well as the supervisor's report and bank reconciliation for December. We're going to pass a budget modification resolution tonight that will correct all budget line overages. We're closing the year out very well. The largest expense we've had to cover were attorney fees for the Article 78 proceeding, which is crested at $32,500. We did have funds in our judgment and claims line, but fortunately we had not yet touched our contingency line, so it's been covered. We exceeded expectations in our revenue lines largely because of a substantial and unanticipated jump in our sales tax revenue from the county. In the third quarter, the county had predicted a flat third quarter, and instead it skyrocketed. So for some mysterious reason, people were out shopping like mad. Our rec and our park revenues were up circa $6,000. What's that?
Foghorn.
Disposal tickets were up $32,000. However, our haulage fees are also up because so many people are using our transfer stations since other transfer stations closed down. That being said, we're still in the black. Interest earnings were up $53,000 because of the high interest rates in New York Class, which is the agency that municipalities are allowed to safely invest our funds in. And as soon as the interest rates started to climb, I was able to transfer funds out of the Millbrook Bank and into the New York Class account. So that was a big plus. And then tonight, we'll be interviewing 4 candidates during executive session to fill the town board seat vacated by Ann Arndt. I want to thank in advance the candidates who put their names forward. This position will run through December of 2024, and then the seat will be formally filled in this coming November's election, and that will still be for just a term of a year. So, I think that's all I have. And at this time, I'd like to open the meeting for privilege of the floor. Yes, oh, Stacy, just please state your name and your address so Rita Mary can record it.
Sorry, I have a grumpy husband coming home, so I'm on a mission.
You have a grumpy husband coming?
Yeah, home.
Oh.
Coming home. From being outside in the freezing all day. So, sorry. As much as I would love to stay with you folks all evening. Anyway, sorry, my name is Stacy Adams. I live at 69 Millis Lane. Was another address at one point, but rural route something or other.
I don't even remember what it was.
Anyway, I just wanted to take a minute to publicly encourage this town board to appoint Adrienne Zetterberg to the open seat. She's well known in the community from not only her attendance at regular town board meetings, as well as her run for one of the recent seats this last fall. But she has also already been vetted extensively by the community at Meet the Candidates Night. So by running last year and also submitting her name to the board for current consideration, she's reiterated her public willingness to serve this town. In the election last November, she garnered 46% of the votes, which says a lot considering that one of the open seats garnered 49%, so it's only a 3% difference in the vote. So it's true, she lost, but my point is that it was quite close, and it's clear that the community is in support of her as a viable candidate. So in closing, I just wanted to say that by appointing Adrienne to the open seat, this town board here would show not only your support for the principles of equity and inclusivity, but you'd also send a clear message that you do in fact serve the entire town. Thank you.
Oh, Chris, I'm sorry, I wanted you to speak, come speak. I'm sorry?
I've heard of Firehouse, right?
Sure.
Thank you. Eagle Martini, Shelley Hill Road. Again, I'm echoing what Stacy just said in support of Adrienne Zetterberg to fill an empty seat in the town board for two reasons. Number one, she does know the community. She did very well in the last election, and this town board would show more, I guess, a concern for the community in that many people here would really like to see a more balanced board. So you would show that. So I do appreciate if you would assign Adrienne Zetterberg to this seat. Thank you.
Thank you. Chris.
Hello, everyone. Chris Drago, 1212 Huns Lake Road, and your newly sworn-in county legislator. I want to just provide an update on what's going on at the county level and just share some of my experience so far. About 2 weeks in, I was sworn in 2 weeks ago down in Poughkeepsie. We had our first committee meetings last Thursday. What happens is we have committee meetings on a Thursday, and then the following Monday or Tuesday we have a full legislator meeting. I was assigned my top two picks of committees, so I was assigned public safety, given my interest and our interest in emergency service, not just in Stanford, but across our district, as well as the mental health committee. And it's become very apparent to me, given conversations that I'm having across the district, just the lack of mental health resource that we have in the more rural northern part of our county, and how it's getting desperate. And so I'm very excited to jump right into those two committees. Just so everyone knows, the budget for this year, the county budget for this year, was determined by the outgoing administration. And it was decided by the outgoing administration that county bus service servicing Tivoli would be discontinued just to save some money. I'm very happy to report that based on discussions that we've had internally with the legislature, with Sue Serino and the executive team, and lots of feedback from people from the district, that it has been decided to reverse that decision, and that we will be reinstating bus service for people to get to and from Tivoli, which is wonderful. And got a number of letters and spoke to a number of people within our district. Even though they don't live in that district, they know people who do and rely on that service for work. and how vital it is. And when I spoke on the floor about my support of this change, I talked about how our part of the county is still a transportation desert. Right? It's been many years since we've had access to public transportation in our part of the county, and how very much that's needed. I had a meeting with Sue Serino, our new county executive, last week, and she was very open and invited me to chat with her, and we had a very good conversation. And in that meeting, she talked about how it's a priority for her to be helping our underserved communities across the county, which I was very encouraged by. So I look forward to continuing to work with her on that and a number of other issues that I think many of us have talked about as a group. And so those meetings are webcasts, so anyone can watch, even if you don't want to slip down to Poughkeepsie. You can watch our committee meetings. You can watch our full board meetings. If you have any comments or thoughts to share with me ahead of time, you can email me. It's chris@drago2023.com, and happy to bring your thoughts. And what I didn't realize is that when you email, most times your emails then get forwarded to the full legislature and get forwarded to the county executive. And so I have a stack of emails here people who got in touch with me, and I now know who to send those to so that they then get distributed more broadly. So your voices are being heard, and which is, I think, very encouraging too, and very important. So even if you don't come, and do encourage you to come, especially if there are issues that are important to you, come and speak in person. But if you don't, feel free to get in touch with me, and I'll be sure to pass along your thoughts. I'm going to leave it at that for now. I'm not going to guarantee I'm going to be able to be here at every town meeting. I'm actually going to have to leave right after this because I have another meeting I need to run to. But I did want to come today to introduce or reintroduce myself to all of you, to know that I'm available to you. And I'm just going to leave you with one quick story. I don't know if many of you read about the situation in Milan this past week, where there was someone who passed away and left 12 dogs, 22, was it 22? Great Danes, and there was a hoarder situation where the dogs were in very bad shape, and I met with the Milan dog control officer this afternoon, who was really spearheading the effort to get various agencies in to come to the rescue to help, and just an incredible operation to rescue those dogs. I have to say, very sad situation that a neighbor passed away and was in need, and clearly, someone who needed help from a mental health standpoint, and for whatever reason wasn't able to get it. And so I would just encourage us as neighbors to keep an eye out for one another. If you haven't heard from someone in a little while, knock on their door or give them a call. And if you're having trouble getting through, know that there are services available at the county, or even to call the police, and they'll do a welfare visit just to check on folks to make sure they're doing okay. And as I said, mental health is a priority for me, and figuring out ways to bring services to us rather than us having to go to them. But in the meantime, we can all look after each other. So thank you very much for the time.
Anthony.
Anthony Sarnicola, 25 Huns Lake Road. I'd just like to contribute to the conversation about the appointment. I understand also that a petition was presented to the board, correct? Okay, so a petition was presented to the board that the town council person position that was being vacated, or that's being vacated by Ann Arendt, should be filled by one of the Republican candidates who failed to garner enough votes to secure a seat in the last election. With all due respect to those candidates, they're good people who care deeply about this community. Let's be clear. This petition with these signatures are meaningless and should not and cannot have any influence over the board's decision for an appointment. This is not a Miss America pageant. The first runner-up does not get to replace the sitting board member if she is unable to fulfill her obligations. That's not the way it works on any level of government. By the will of the people, this community chose a fully democratic town board in 2 straight election cycles. 50 meager signatures on a petition does not override 650 votes in a free and fair election. 50 signatures does not overturn election results. 50 signatures does not overrule the will of the people. Furthermore, it would be a very dangerous precedent to consider any minority number of signatures on a petition over a majority number of votes in an official election. If this board were presented with a petition, should it override the cannabis dispensary referendum? Should the board reverse a decision made by the majority of this town? Of course not. It's a ridiculous notion that no one would support, myself included. No doubt, given my involvement with the party, there will be cynics who will try to discredit me as a Democrat seeking to retain control. That would be false. I believe in the integrity of elections. I believe election results are sacrosanct, whether or not they go my way. My respect for the democratic process is nonpartisan. I would be making the same appeal if this board tried to replace Buddy Weber with a Democrat, or for that matter, anybody other than Dennis. Bottom line, the board must always appoint town officials by maintaining the balance prescribed by the people of this town. Whether it's town justice, clerk, highway superintendent, or board member, the board must replace vacancies with individuals with the same qualifications and the same party as sitting officials, undeterred by political ruse on the left or the right. If that appointment is challenged by the other party, it should be done so in the form of an election, not a petition. Thank you very much.
I just want to point out one thing. Eric is not a Democrat. Tiny point, but the Democrats ran an independent, not, and that, just a point of fact. Ann. Yeah.
It's okay.
So, my name is Ann Bernstein. I live at 956 South Anson Road. Like many people, I'm consumed with grief, anger, and helplessness since the genocide in Gaza and occupied Palestine began. I wake up thinking about it, and first thing, I check to see if the journalists I follow on social media in Gaza are still alive. I think about them in the millions of people suffering under the cruel siege, under the rubble, day in, day out, all day, every day. I also feel really disconnected. I'm searching for my people, and I'm just not finding a lot of them around me these days. Or maybe I just don't know them. I'm desperate to make noise on this issue, not just online, but in my hometown. But I'm not sure how. It's not that there's no activism here. A year and a half ago, there was a fundraiser for Ukraine at the Stissing Center, headlined by David Byrne, which raised over $100,000. The funds were used for relief and survival supplies, and it was glorious to see how much money a small community could raise. Ukrainian flags still dot the landscape around town. In 2020, there was a nonpartisan gathering for racial justice held in Pine Plains where Greg Pulver and others spoke. There was live music and a fairly large crowd gathered, masked. I was so grateful to see a family holding signs asking for justice for Jaime Lopez, who was killed by a state trooper in Stanfordville right across the street from where I'm standing right now. Our town council has yet to officially recognize this egregious crime. So the Pine Plains gathering provided some relief for those of us who find this kind of silence unbearable. Collective action can also be fun, as it is powerful, like the Pride celebrations that Bangleworks has hosted for the past 2 years. Speaking of Pride, Jaime's widow, Araceli, was the first business owner in town to hang a Pride flag. More recently, I was part of a local grassroots effort which collected hundreds of signatures and got a referendum on our ballot to vote to allow certain cannabis businesses in our town as a part of a larger effort to end the demonization of cannabis. It didn't pass, but we tried, and we will continue to advocate for this cause. For Palestine, there are no signs, no fundraisers, no nonpartisan gatherings, no referenda. Except online. I have such affection for the local people and businesses I see posting about Palestine on Instagram. I'm longing for their physical company, even though I don't know any of them personally. I want to smoosh into a crowd of them. There are a lot of people who aren't on social media that I'm sure I want to march alongside in this fight. I know we are here, allies. I'm Jewish, and my grandmother fled the Nazis. I attended Hebrew school until I had my bat mitzvah at age 13. I carry the scars of anti-Semitism and hate, some from personal experience, some inherited. My great-great-aunt, Leonore Schwartz-Neumeier, was an opera singer in Vienna and later in Frankfurt. Her husband and her son were able to escape to the United States because her husband had a son from a previous marriage who lived here. But she was not granted a visa and had to stay in Germany. When she met with a banker to discuss her financial situation, which was precarious, her neighbors reported the meeting to the Gestapo. The banker, who was a family friend with several children, was arrested. Fearing for his safety, my great-great-aunt Leonore went to the Gestapo to tell them that she and the banker had met simply to discuss her finances. She was immediately sent to a concentration camp and ultimately murdered by the Nazis. I recently Googled her, and to my great surprise, I found some recordings of her singing. She was a mezzo-soprano. It was amazing to hear her voice, a voice silenced by Nazis. One of the voices from Gaza that I've been listening to is that of poet Mossab Abu Toha. He recently wrote, quote, "An open invitation to all people in the world to become writers. There is a duty that everyone should take on, that they need to write about what they see and feel. It can be about everything, about your dinner with family, your trips to the seashore, watching the sunset, etc. But let Gaza be a part of it. I'm not here to point fingers. I'm here to inspire dialogue and identify allies. I'm here to ask the board to pass a resolution for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza, like Albany and San Francisco and other towns have done. I'm here to ask my fellow citizens and our political leaders to put Pat Ryan on notice. We see his voting record, and it will be reflected in our votes the next time he's on the ballot. I will not be silent, and I hope you find your voice too. Let Gaza live." And just in closing, I want to add a little note that Leonore's son, Jonathan J. Neumeier, he lived into his late 90s. He was a force of nature. He was the president of SUNY New Paltz from 1968 to 72 and of Moorhead State University from 1958 to 68. He lived with his amazing wife Sally in Poughkeepsie for some time while he was philosophy professor emeritus of Empire State College. And he used to write a column which appeared in the first Sunday Freeman every month. When the current siege in Gaza began, I searched the archives and found his entry from February 1st, 2009. Neumeier, reviewing the war between Israel and Gaza. Do you want to report on the CAC? It's a little bit of a topic change, but I think that's fine.
Sure.
So shit's going on anyway. So the CAC met. We talked about the moving forward of the natural resources inventory.
That's probably the best part for you to talk about.
Yeah, so basically, like, there was a big gathering that we had here a couple months ago, and there was a presentation, people from the CAC, from Hudsonia, from Cornell Cooperative Extension, and from the Carey Institute were here. I believe they were all here, and basically, since the passing of Gary Lovett, who was our amazing chair and was spearheading this effort and was the definition of a force of nature and was doing, the lifting of 10 humans. We've cobbled together this amazing team, and they're rallying around this effort to help also for the love of the environment and for Gary Lovett. Additionally to that, we talked about our Super Bowl, which is Trash Pickup Day. And that's this year. True that. This year we're going to do it a week early. Very exciting. Yeah. See, things change in Stanfordville. So I believe it's the 13th
of April.
Yeah, there was some conflict.
Okay.
And the next Saturday is 4/20, and I will be busy.
Thank you. Claudia.
Claudia DeBellis, Charwell Drive, Crimson Corners. Let me not knock this over. I'm emboldened with the idea of you changing a date of something in town of Stanford. And I'd like to throw out for consideration over the next several months. Could we consider changing the date of our winter parade of lights? It conflicts with a very large one that takes place over in Rhinebeck, which I've been dying to go to, but I always come here. I would love to do both. So if we could think about shifting that date, maybe.
Rita, who determines that?
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Claudia.
The parade of lights was started long before anybody else had parades. And they should not have, stepped on our toes. But they did. So,
They should change their date.
they should change their date. Yeah,
We'll call Rhinebeck.
we used to have it on the Friday of the first weekend in December, but Fridays were problematic for traffic. So we switched it to Saturday, but we were the first ones.
Okay, I'm not getting, I'm
Yes,
I'm
and
not
the back.
exploring this any further. Anyone else? Okay, then, I would like to close the first privilege of the floor. There'll be a second one if anyone is so moved. And move on to new business, of which we have quite a bit. I'd like to invite Erin Hoagland up to speak. She's from the Duchess Land Conservancy, and she is going to brief us regarding Clarence Knapp's farm.
Thank you. I have some large maps. I don't know that I'll.
Do you want
post
us
with
to
them,
hold
but-
them up, or?
That's okay. I'm wondering if you'd like to see them or the.
No, why don't you show them to
Okay. What I'll do is I'll just turn this and I can hop over and kind of flip it as I go. So. Thank you so much for having me tonight, making time on your agenda. I am Erin Hoagland. I'm the Director of Conservation with the Duchess Land Conservancy, and I'm here tonight to request a letter of endorsement for the purchase of development rights project we're working on the Knapp farm with Clarence Knapp. We're applying to the New York State Department of Ag and Markets, and a requirement of that program is for us to obtain this letter. It's a statutory requirement under the Ag and Markets law. And I did provide some information in advance, which I'll just kind of summarize here. I also provided a kind of sample letter. You're more than welcome to use that, change it, write something completely new. I just do that to kind of try to help save you all some time. Another requirement of this request is for the Land Trust to address any potential conflicts of interest. So if anyone on the board has is neighboring the farm, has a personal, professional, or otherwise kind of relationship with Clarence. The guidance is that those individuals, if any, actually physically leave the room. I've learned recently that that's
She's
not
not here.
Oh, okay,
So,
perfect.
I mean, I don't know
Okay.
about anybody else, but Julia, one of
Okay.
our board members, is just not here. so-
Okay, all right, that's great.
I'm sorry?
Yeah.
That's fine as long as you're not
How do you
a.
define neighboring was, I think, John's question.
Oh, how do we define it?
Is it a direct neighbor or?
I would say probably a direct neighbor. It's a good question. Are you bordering the farm?
No, over here.
Okay. I think really as long as it's not a voting member of the endorsement, it's not a problem. But thank you. The property has been in Clarence's family for over 140 years, and it's been in active agriculture that entire time. Almost 100% of it is engaged in active agriculture today. He uses it for cultivation of hay, which is sold to other local producers, and it's also home to a small herd of beef cattle, which use a portion of the fields for pasture. It also has a really high, actually just before I move on, this map here shows protected lands in the town. Everything in blue is protected by the DLC. This neighboring farm to the west is... Can you go a little higher? Oh, sure. Yeah, sorry.
Actually, if you stand in the corner, we can see it too.
Okay, yeah. The neighbor, I'm wondering if I could just...
Go to the corner.
If I could grab this. For you to here. Does that work for everyone? Yeah. Okay. No. Sorry.
Can't breathe.
Okay. So everything in blue protected by the Duchess Land Conservancy. The orange is other organizations, and I just wanted to point out that the farm to the west Uphill Farm, owned by Jonathan Kagan, was also a purchase of development rights that we were able to do some years back. And I'll just flip so that you don't have to stand here for too long, because I'm fine, I'm young, and talk about the agricultural soils. Thank you so much, I appreciate it. I'll just pass on over to the mic and my notes. So I was just starting to say that a majority of the property is comprised of both statewide important, shown in yellow, and prime agricultural soils. These are kind of the top tier soils mapped by the USDA, worthy of protection. They're most suitable for agriculture, whether that's cultivation or pasture, based on the drainage and, ability to not erode, things like that. So the yellow is statewide important, and the prime is brown. So statewide important, they just kind of, prime is the like A+ soils, and the actual little tiny black classifications are what determines their suitability for different things. So whether or not they are, like really well drained, it gets kind of scientific if they're formed in glacial till, all of these different things. And so like the more well-drained loamy soils are better, for crops. And then there are other soils, probably more the statewide important soils may be more suitable for pasture, so that if there are animals, packing that down, they are not so affected by that. So these are what the program specifically looks to protect. There's actually a threshold that we have to meet in order to be eligible for the project. So this well exceeds that. So really exciting to have the opportunity to protect those. In addition, we can flip one more time and then you can relax. It'll actually go backwards. Actually the we'll go back one more. Sorry.
That's after it snowed.
Okay. I'm going back to my room now.
I'll just settle here on the aerial map, which shows the property, and a little bit hard to see some of the resources all outlined, but there are just other natural resources at play here. So the entirety of the property overlies aquifer recharge area. It has over 1,500 feet of frontage on the Willow Brook, which is a tributary to the Wappinger Creek. It has federal wetlands and also has some areas of 100-year floodplain around that creek. So all, things that the DLC looks to protect. It's also, I'm sure you all know it better than I, but it's highly visible from Prospect Hill Road, Haight Hill Road, and Market Lane. And it's just, I think goes without saying, driving past the property and looking across those open fields, it's really just an incredible view, I think worthy of protection on its own. And the protection of the property fits with town priorities. The 2023 Comprehensive Plan identifies Goal 1 as preserving the town's rural character and agricultural heritage, and Goal 2 as protecting the town's natural resources. So this project achieves both of those things. It also states that preservation of farmland has been a priority goal in all of the planning documents prepared for the town over the last 40 years, and outlines the value of the agricultural industry as an economic driver in the town. And lastly, the plan states that the use of conservation easements to protect parcels from development is a crucial tool for preserving farmland. So we really are so grateful that Clarence is interested in working with us to protect this land. We haven't, done a big farmland protection project in Stanford in a while, so it's really exciting. And, I truly feel like this is not only Clarence's legacy, but, an agricultural legacy of the town of Stanford. So I hope you feel the same. I'm happy to take any questions. And I will just point out before I wrap up that the conservation easement will prohibit subdivision. So this 145 acres will have to stay as 145 acres per the easement. And then there is kind of a building envelope use area that's established mostly around the existing farmstead to accommodate future development for farming. Last note is just that the state they'll accept this letter as part of our application. It is addressed to the program manager. You're welcome to send that directly to them and just provide a copy to us, whichever you like. And they will likely follow up for a copy of the meeting minutes of this meeting, just to make sure that we were actually here and this all happened, so.
I have a question.
Sure.
Is the conservation easement going to protect the home, or is it purely going to protect the land?
Yeah, good question. So the easement will cover the entirety of the tax parcel. So the home will be included, and it will be part of that kind of farmstead area building envelope. The easement itself doesn't really, protect any like architectural integrity or historical integrity, but it does put a limitation on like the number of residences and the size of residences.
So it's not a dual historic preservation on the home and open space on the land.
Correct.
So I've noticed that the house is under renovation presently.
Yeah. Yep.
His house doesn't have any insulation at all. So he built the back of it so he could be warm. Took him a while, but.
When do you need this letter by?
So, to be frank, time is somewhat of the essence. The state round has been open. In March, it will have been a year. And there's this, I won't go into the weeds too much on it, but there's essentially a pool of money for the Mid-Hudson region that's available only to Mid-Hudson Land Trust right now. Sometime in March, they will pool all of the funds from the entire state and
so
start.
You need it soon.
Yeah.
Tomorrow.
I did get into the weeds, apparently.
We have to write it.
We have to write it.
Yeah.
But we've been given a prototype, so.
How does it work if it goes into the land trust? I mean, does somebody, assuming Clarence moves to Florida, whatever he does somebody come in and actually farm the property, or how does that work?
So the conservation easement runs with the land in perpetuity, and so any future owner would be subject to those restrictions. The easement itself actually doesn't require that the property may be kept in farming, but the state program is really specific about the site planning and kind of using that to limit the attractiveness to non-farm buyers. So again, kind of keeping like the building area close to the road and around the existing farmstead where an actual farmer would tend to live. And there are, it has to be, although it doesn't have to be actively farmed, agricultural use of the property is somewhat dictated by a conservation plan for the property. And if you can manage it in a fallow way so that it's still kept open and available for farming, but not, we can't, the DLC and the state can't be out there every day saying, are you growing corn? Are you cultivating? So the overall goal is viability for farming in the future.
And the important thing is it can never be subdivided.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah. No,
which is the main restriction.
Housing development and loss of that land and those soils for farming. Did you have a question?
Who's responsible though for the maintenance? Suppose nobody buys a house. Will also be conservancy. Who's going to either hang or the mowing or who's responsible?
Yeah, so the responsibility for maintenance of the property, payment of taxes, everything still lies with the landowner. It still remains in private ownership, and the DLC is really just responsible for making sure that the terms of the conservation easement are upheld. So, if we agreed to an easement that says you build within this farmstead area, and say 50 years from now somebody's bought it and they're pouring a foundation on the hilltop, that's when we would have to say, hold on a minute, that doesn't align with what your easement says. But regular kind of maintenance and upkeep of the property is the responsibility of the landowner. It would still kind of go along the lines of whatever his estate, however they divest of the property, whatever future owner or buyer would have to be aware of the conservation easement and know that they would be responsible for abiding by that as well.
If the land were sold and mortgaged, and the mortgage went into foreclosure and were taken by a bank, would the bank also be bound to protect the land?
Yeah, great question. There's a requirement for conservation easements that any mortgage be subordinated to the conservation easement. So in a chain of title, the easement comes first, and it prevents the possibility of that happening. And that's actually in the document. And if there, not the case here, but if there were a mortgage at the time, we would get that acknowledgement before closing.
So Clarence or his heirs or a new owner would own this, not the Conservancy.
Correct.
not the town, not anybody else.
Correct, yep.
But all of this attaches to the deed, right?
Yes, it does. It runs with the, with the deed, yeah.
Forever.
This isn't a question, it's a comment. So New York State is in the middle of its third major Williamsburg atlas. Started in 2020 and 25 years. The state is all cut up into blocks, and you can adopt a block, and then you enter all sorts of stuff into eBay if anybody knows what that is. You enter all this data that the state is using. I did that block, have been working on that block for years already. That place is already prime bird area. I will tell you, grassland bird populations are down 90% since 1950. But I've already confirmed bottles and some of the grassland species, like meadowlarks and things like that, used to be very common birds, but they're not anymore. But they already exist on that property. So I think that's worth knowing and building into whatever plans we need for it.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you for that.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And we will, well, do we need to make a motion in order to write that letter, or can
I think you should.
Okay. We'll deal with that a little later on then.
Okay.
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 Thank you.
Thank you.
Are you going to take this with you, or can we keep it? Okay, we're now having a small presentation by Nancy Kangas and Josh Kuhn, who you may have seen around town very quietly dragging that giant camera around. They're working on a documentary film project about our town's effort to rebuild Spark Park. Even shy people like Rita Mary have agreed to be interviewed. And anyway, please tell us about your project.
I'm Nancy, and this is Josh, and we're independent documentary filmmakers. And yes, we've been hanging around since like January 2nd, and a lot of you are familiar faces, and I have to look at my notes. We're at this point self-funding our project. I'm going to leave time for you to ask questions because I'm not sure what you'd like to know. But the first project that Josh and I ever did was about 7 years ago. I still am a teaching artist. I write poems with 4-year-olds. That's my favorite thing. And so we got the idea of making an animated series based on these 4-year-olds' poems. And you can see that film. It's called Preschool Poets. And I had no idea that I would enjoy. We also made a documentary about me, and so I know how it feels to have the camera on. It's kind of weird, but it was really fun to make that film. And so we've been interested in we've been making projects since then, mostly shorts. We have 2 short films that just got accepted to film festivals, different places, but we really want to make a feature film, and we've been fishing for an idea for a long time, and somewhere along the line we thought we heard of a presentation about playgrounds, playground design, and how it's changed over the years. That was interesting to us. And then we learned about community-built playgrounds, and we're like, whoa, that's amazing. And then we kept reading more about what happens when a community builds a playground and how invested they get in that space. And then we found out that those are not really happening now. And we were doing a tour of playgrounds in the United States over this past November. We met Lee from Play by Design, and we were telling him our story. And he said, oh, you might want to check out Stanfordville. They're doing one. I'm like, really? And this just doesn't happen very much. And so you guys are you are rare that you're trying to do this. And then our idea is that we'd like to, let's see, I'm going to jump around at this. Anyway, I'll say that we'd like to follow the building of the playground, and we'd like to follow what happened, how you do that. And your town is unique, but it's also like a lot of towns around this area, probably across the United States, that have pressures outside that affect your town. And we're kind of interested in those threads as well, and how you come together to build a playground, but how you come together to shape the community that you want. And we talked to somebody who said he really wanted to be part of the film, and one of the reasons he wanted to, I have to read this, his quote is, I want there to be a better understanding of what each person wants. And he wanted to, and that's kind of the spirit of what we're hoping for, is to listen carefully to the community and listen carefully to the build. I didn't let you say a thing.
In my experience, that's the way you guys work.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah. Nancy's the face. I do the camera and editing and that kind of thing. But we'll be here for probably 4 or 5 months, is my guess.
Yeah, it's a slow motion process.
Yeah, it's actually much quicker than most communities take years and years. Probably an average of 2 to 3 years to raise funds. It happens quicker here, and I think the big thing is volunteers. So if anybody has the days free during that time, it'd be cool to see out there. And we'll be continuing to just kind of follow the threads of the playground and try to figure out what is bigger than just a play structure. Finding the themes that are underneath what the playground is, which can be, it's a relatively benign thing, but can be really powerful what goes into it. And the old build is really interesting. We've been interviewing everybody about how that brought people together and what it meant for the community.
So please reach out to us. We want to be very available. Oak House Films, I don't know if I said that at the top, that's our company. And I'm Nancy at oakhousefilms.com and Josh at oakhousefilms.com. And we'll leave our phone number with wherever we can, so that you can reach out to us. We'd like to hear from you. And,
I can put it in the newsletter.
Okay,
too.
good. Yeah, and like Josh said, we'll be here. We split our time between Brooklyn, New York, and Columbus, and we're going back to, and I'm going to teach a little bit, and then we'll be back, and you'll see us around a lot. Yeah.
And what is your goal for this film?
We'd love it to be a film, and maybe Josh is always more eloquent in this. This is a good question. It's a feature-length film. That's one goal, is that it's not just a short take, but kind of a fuller film. And we'd like it to be so good that it goes to festivals. Lots of films have to be that, like a really good story. And we'd like to go, well, actually, we're not sure because we're still following the story, but we think that it's going to show how people come together to do something that matters to everybody, and in which you overcome to do that. And Josh is always saying, like, there can't be a valley without the peak. So we are hoping to show that it's not easy to do what you guys have been doing.
Without the valley.
Whoa, the valleys without the peak.
Yeah.
No wonder
It's our motto.
No wonder you always are saying this.
Yeah.
Okay, what he said.
But yeah, as far as where it goes, we don't know. This is our first film. Like she said, completely self-funded. I work in commercials sometimes, teaching artists. So we're just kind of pooling our resources as the time goes and trying to make as good of a story as we can.
So the Prague Film Festival.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And
Sundance.
No. We're not sure. I think would be the main answer to that, but it'll evolve and it'll probably be a year of editing, so it's off into the distance. Yeah.
I didn't hear you.
Sasha, what did you say?
Yeah.
It was.
Give us faceless Hicks some life, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can we ask that after you have put it all together and it's ready for the road, that you bring it here and have a showing for the
Oh my gosh, absolutely.
Oh, that'll be the first showing.
It will, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Outside.
Yeah.
We'll have comments and you can submit. Yeah. We'll have a whole discussion about what the film means. And, it'll be good.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for interviewing me. What I'd like to do is jump forward to number 8 on the agenda, if I can find it myself. Oh, here it is. Because we have people here that are specifically here, I believe, for number 8 to appoint the zoning commission members. But in fact, before I do that, I have to read.
You have to do 1E first. Don't you?
I have to read. I'll do Resolution 1E of 2024 to amend Resolution 9A of 2023 to increase the number of members on the zoning commission from 5 to a maximum of 9. Whereas the town of Stanford established a zoning commission in Resolution 9A of 2023 and stipulated that the commission would have 5 members, and whereas it has become apparent that due to the complexity of the work to be done and the amount of labor it will entail, it would be judicious to appoint additional members. Now therefore be it resolved, the town board of the town of Stanford is authorized to appoint up to 9 members of said commission, and be it further resolved, the term of service on the zoning commission will be for a period of 3 years.
Second.
Wendy Burton?
Yes.
Julia Descoto is not here. Eric Ames?
Yes.
Nathan LaVirtue?
Yes.
And by the way, that's not a mandatory 3 years. If people need to resign before then, they can. But we're aiming for some sort of, because I know you have a look. Anyway, we're looking for some continuity, so that was the number that we started with. Now I will make a motion to appoint the following people to serve on the zoning commission that was formed by Resolution 9A of 2023. Tom Angel, Wendy Burton, Chris Flynn, Steve Godovich, Steve Horowitz, Don Smith, and Barbara Warren.
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Leaves room for
We have, I think it's mandatory, but we have the zoning, the code enforcer, the building code enforcer. They're supposed to be a member of the town board on the commission. And then I'm just delighted by the interest that all of the other people who came forward showed in this project, because it's an enormous project. It will be time consuming, and I'm just in advance appreciative of your willingness to serve. And we've already managed to find an evening that works for all of us, so we'll be meeting on Thursday nights is 7 o'clock okay with everybody? At 7 o'clock at Town Hall, and I think our first order of business will probably be to start looking for an advisor. But anyway, I just have a lot of gratitude for your stepping up to the plate.
Which Thursday night?
The 3rd.
Thank you.
Actually, the 2nd, so I won't be able to be here at town board meetings anymore.
Yeah,
Oh,
you
well.
will. Yeah, that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
We have a second. Wendy Burton?
Yes.
Julia Dakota is absent. Eric Ames?
Yes.
Nathan LaVirtue?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So, now I will go back to Resolution 1B, which is to retain play-by-design for ordering equipment for the new Spark Park. Nathan, you want to read that? Thank you, Angels.
Do you want the paper?
No, I have it. I'm just waiting.
Oh, for calmness?
And it's 1B, right?
1B.
Resolution number 1B of 2024, authorizing the town board to retain Play by Design LLC as a consultant to represent the town of Stanford with respect to placing playground equipment order. At a meeting of the town board of the town of Stanford Town Board held at the town of Stanford Town Hall on the 18th day of January 2024 at 7 p.m. Town Supervisor Wendy Burton called the meeting to order, and she's seconded by Council Member Nathan.
Okay, fair enough.
Move the following resolution. Whereas by resolution duly adopted at its meeting held December 14th, 2023, The town board authorized the purchase of playground equipment from BCI Burt Company LLC through Sourcewell in the amount of $466,267.70. And whereas Play by Design LLC has served as consultant to the Stanford Recreation Committee in preparing the order for said purchase, and whereas the town board has determined it is in the town's best interest to authorize Play by Design to serve as the town's consultant in placing said order with Sourcewell, and whereas the town board has determined the proposed action qualifies as a Type 2 under the action under the New York State Environmental Quality Review Act, New York SEQR, as it involves the purchase or sale of equipment that is not land, radioactive materials, pesticides, herbicides, or other hazardous materials, and therefore is exempt under environmental review pursuant to 6 NYCRR 617.5. Now therefore it be resolved that the town board hereby authorizes Play by Design LLC to serve as a consultant for the town in placing said order. And be it further resolved that the town board hereby authorizes the town supervisor to sign any and all documents necessary or desirable to accomplish such representation. The foregoing resolution was adopted.
I do that.
Yep, sorry.
Wendy Burton?
Is there any discussion?
Yep.
Wendy Burton?
Yes.
Julie Dakota absent. Nathan LaBertu?
Yes.
Eric Haynes?
Yes.
And I want to thank Jane Cottrell again for helping usher through this resolution and all the work that she's done on this project. Okay, Resolution 1C of 2024 to create a New York class sub-account ending in 12 and to transfer funds from Millbrook escrow account 3807530 and move the funds to the newly created New York class escrow account. Whereas the town of Stanford has received $90,429 to be held in reserve from ELP Solar LLC as collateral in the event their commercial solar field is abandoned. And whereas these funds can be held in an interest-bearing account, and whereas there is no contractual stipulation that the interest earned on these funds must be held expressly for ELP Solar, and ELP Solar has agreed in writing that the town of Stanford may keep the interest, and whereas if the solar field is abandoned and the cost of remediation for the town would likely be for an amount more than $90,429, now therefore be it resolved, the supervisor is authorized to set up a sub-account in New York class ending in 12, and be it further resolved that the supervisor is authorized to transfer these funds from Millbrook account 3080750, I think there's an extra number in there, to New York class account ending in 12. So the debit is the New York class account escrow, $90,429, and the credit is Millbrook Bank escrow account.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion?
Oh, I'm good.
Wendy Burton?
Yes.
Julie's absent. Eric Haynes?
Yes.
Nathan LaBertu?
Yes.
Okay, the budget modification, Resolution 1D. Although we do these budget modifications regularly all year long, at the end of the year, there's a larger reckoning to be done, which is this budget modification, which includes funds from both the general fund budget lines and the highway fund budget lines. And I think because it will be part of the record in the minutes, I don't have to read this line by line.
Just do the totals.
Accounting to
Just
you.
do the two totals.
Okay, so the total that we moved around from line to line in the general fund was $26,691.58. And in the highway fund, we moved a walloping $4,576.93.
Are you making a motion, Wendy?
Make a motion to accept this resolution.
Second.
Thank you. Wendy Burton?
Yes.
Julie Dakota absent. Eric Haynes?
Yes.
Nathan LaBertu?
Yes.
And we've already passed Resolution 1E. So now, Rita,
Yes,
do you want to make a motion?
I can't.
Okay, then I will. I make a motion for Rita to appoint Stephanie Fitzpatrick as the new dog control officer.
Second.
Rita interviewed 3 different people, and this is her chosen person, and we do want to thank Rich Prentice because he's been a terrific dog control officer for the town for many years.
And I'd like to add that when Chris was talking about that dog hoarding situation, it was Stephanie that was in the middle of all that. She got it going.
It was, and
We're sharing her with the town of Milan.
Yeah, that was such an amazing effort. There were so many
Mhm.
agencies that came out for those poor dogs,
Yep.
but, okay. So do we got a second?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, all in favor?
Aye. We've had an agreement with the Pine Plains Veterinary for many years to act as our kennel when dogs get picked up. And they, this year, informed us they were no longer doing it.
That's correct.
So Rita had to go on a mission to find another place to shelter these animals, and she ended up discovering that the Pine Plains Fire Company? Garage has actually set up a shelter, which has been approved
by Department of Ag and Markets.
Right. I mean, at first I was a little leery.
I was too, yeah.
But, so we have a new contract with them, and again, it will be attached to the minutes, but basically the fee, the municipality will pay the shelter $30 per day of impoundment, starting on the day that the dog is brought in and ending on the day the harboring is ended. Is that the same fee that we were paying in?
I think we might have paid 28 to Pine Plains.
Oh, okay. Okay.
It's close.
So I make a motion to accept this agreement.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. And again, I'm not going to read this, but every year we're supposed to review our town policies, and in order for us to actually read them and not just shine them on, we're going to do 1 or 2 a month. So the first one we have reviewed, and Jane actually has updated because New York State changed some of the language.
Well, they expanded the policy to be less of a kind of a beginner's entry-level policy to something more comprehensive, which they consider, the New York State considers to be the minimum.
And this is the sexual harassment policy. So again, I'm not going to read it. It will be included in the minutes. I hope we all have read it. And I make a motion to update our sexual harassment, to accept our sexual harassment policy as updated.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. We have had our yearly, it was called an AUD, the end of the year accounting report for the Office of the State Controller, which is now called the AKR. There are 3 different letters. What, Janie? Did you know?
I was thinking AR, annual review, something.
I can't
Are you talking about the AUD?
Yeah, but they changed the name on me.
Oh.
So it has new initials. Anyway, Ray DeCellis it's called the Annual Financial Report now, the AFR, which actually makes more sense than the AUD.
It does.
Yeah, which I always got confused with auxiliary dwelling units. In any case, Ray DeCellis has done this for us for years, and she's unable to do it this year. So we have a letter of engagement from Ted Eaglet to do both our AFR report as well as our cash audits. So this is the letter of agreement, and his services will not exceed the AFR will not exceed $3,500 for the year ending December 31st, 2023. And for each of the departments he will do a cash audit for, which will be the 2 justice court clerks, the town clerk, and our tax collector at $750 per department. So I make a motion to accept this letter of engagement.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. I guess what I should do is make a motion to write a letter of support in favor of the DLC's purchase rights on Clarence Knapp's farm. Can I have a second, and then we can have discussion?
Do you have the, how long is the sample letter? I just wanted to look at it real quick. Is it like?
It's a
Do you have
page.
it?
I have it on my computer, I didn't schlep it in here. And we don't have to use that letter.
No, I just wanted to see, I know that, but I just wanted to kind of see what it was stating.
I will say it does, a lot of the town priorities that I had mentioned, it kind of does summarize.
Which I'm way too familiar with.
So, yeah, like when you said, you're welcome to.
Yeah.
whatever works for you.
Yeah, I'm sure. I just wanted to see that, but, I mean, I can see it, if you can just forward it to me.
Yeah.
That's the only thing, I just wanted to see it.
Yeah.
But it's the only thing I wanted to bring up in discussion. I mean, I'm excited about it, because I'm not in the Buttman, but I'm definitely a neighboring resident.
Okay.
For sure.
I'm happy to, and we can craft whatever we want.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, then, that's my motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Now,
Thank you, Aaron.
done.
The anxiety goes away.
Oh, I didn't want you to be anxious. There are a lot of minutes, because Nathan and I were the only 2 people, board members, for the 12/7, the 12/14, and the 12/28 meeting. What we need to do is make a motion to accept the minutes as opposed to approve them. So I make a motion to accept those 3 minutes.
Second.
Now, would I be eligible to vote on that since?
Yes. Yeah, because it's
Okay.
just the acceptance.
Just the
of it.
acceptance
Yeah,
of
we're
it.
not approving it.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And then I make a motion to approve the minutes, which you can, because you were here,
Yes.
from the January 2nd reorg meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Please don't give me 4 sets of minutes again in 1 month.
I won't.
Thank you.
Nathan might. I make a motion for the approval of abstract 12C for December 23. This is the time of year when our bookkeeper truly wants to shoot herself, because we're doing abstracts, we're financial reckoning for 23 and now 24 at the same time. So we're still catching up with bills, invoices that came in for for 2023. So we'll have 2 abstracts for, I think, 2 or maybe 3 months.
It's usually for the first quarter you're doing that.
Which is really a pain in the butt. So the first abstract is 12C for December of 2023. The general fund was $19,580.17. The highway fund
I
was
made a typo there.
Oh, which is the 2-cent one?
No, $2 one, the highway fund. It should be 1138.39.
Oh, Rita.
I know, I'm sorry.
Highway fund was 1138.39, and the escrow fund was 1485.
Second.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye. Approval of the abstract number 1 for January of 2024. The general fund was $154,387.66, and a huge piece of that was using American Rescue Plan funds for all when we changed all the lighting in all the town buildings over to LED lighting. That was the biggest piece of that very large abstract number. And then the highway fund is $10,613.49.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So for me, we've already taken care of other, unless you guys have another other.
Another other?
No
I have
other.
No other other.
No other other.
Okay.
No other mother.
Then with that, I would like to open the second privilege of the floor. And if you have something to say, please come to the podium and give Rita your name and address. Okey dokey. I'm going to close the privilege of the floor then. We are going to go into executive session in order to interview the 4 brave souls who've applied for the open seat. And it's probably going to be a lengthy process. You are certainly welcome to stick around to see if we end up making a decision tonight. When we come out of executive session, I don't know if we will or we won't, depends what goes on in here. And what I am going to do is try to get Julia on the phone she's driving in from LaGuardia now, so she can ask questions, but she is not allowed to vote because she's not here. Okay.
I request we take a 5-minute.
We're going to take a 5-minute break. And also, everybody who's here to be interviewed, we're going to have you come in collectively just so we can introduce ourselves to you guys, and then obviously we won't interview all at the same time, so.
Do we need the motion to go in exec session before the break?
No, we'll do it after.
Okay. Oh, we will? I can make a motion now to go into executive session. Yeah.
Second.
Oh, all right. At 8:17. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Correct.
No, I felt so bad. It's just like missing stuff.
Okay, so
Make a motion to come out of executive session?
Yes.
I second the motion to come out of executive session.
Okay.
Do we have to vote?
All in favor?
Aye.
Now, you need to acknowledge
That she's back in.
Julia's present.
Oh,
Yeah.
present, not here.
All present, all prepared.
She's herely present.
I'm rubbing off on you.
You were only in here 2 hours.
Good for us. Well, we had to.
Did you take a nap at home?
No,
she was
I
here.
sat here at my desk, I answered emails.
So
We chatted.
we're coming out of executive session
And
with,
back into the regular meeting.
we are going to take an action.
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay. Nathan?
Oh, am I doing it?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm making a motion that we appoint Teddy Secor to the Stanford Town Board.
I second the motion.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Teddy.
I make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
All in favor, I hope?
Aye.
Aye.
Nice job.